So when I left the house this morning, the weather was pretty good. Right in line with the forecast. But I've come up to the central beacons, and as usual, it's clouded over. Well, that's probably quite appropriate for today's walk. I'm heading towards Corndee and Penavant. I'm not actually going to the summits, I'm going to somewhere a little bit more special. First though, I'm going to get this jacket off. Now this story is nearly 125 years old, and it's one of the more tragic stories of the Brecon Beacons and Banyw National Park. So I want to take you back to August 1900. A farmer from a village in the Rhondda called Mardy, called William Jones, decided to come up with his son to meet his brother, who worked on a farm in Cumlock, not far from here. Now his son's name was Tommy Jones, and little did he know that that day would be the last time he'd ever see his son alive. So Tommy was just 5 years old at the time. Caught the train up there with his dad and decided to walk the last 4 miles up to the farm. Having got most of the way, they came across a group of army soldiers in a little log-in near to the farm, only around about a quarter of a mile, half a mile if that short of their final destination. They decided to stop and got chatting with the soldiers. William bought Tommy a little tin of biscuits. Now, it wasn't long after that Tommy's grandfather actually showed up at the log-in. He'd come up from the farm to meet them on the way, and they stayed there for a little while chatting. Now Tommy's cousin, who was just 13 at the time, he decided to come along as well. And while the two gentlemen sat chatting with the guys in the army log-in, they sent the boys ahead to the farm just to announce their arrival. Now the boys had got about halfway to the farm when Tommy, for whatever reason, decided he didn't want to go any further. Whether he was scared or didn't know where he was, it was getting dark. So he decided to go back for his father, and his cousin carried on to the farm. Now this was the last time Tommy would be seen alive. William arrived at the farm. Tommy wasn't there, and a search was begun immediately. Now they searched with the help of the nearby soldiers, but that was called off around midnight. It was resumed again at 3 AM the following day, but as you can imagine, finding anyone in this is pretty difficult. In fact, it would be another 29 days before anyone would see Tommy again. Now this search ended up involving farmers and locals from around the community. It actually ended up in the news as well, in the Daily Mail, who offered a £20 reward for any information regarding Tommy's disappearance. Now, a lot of theories were flown around about what happened, whether Tommy had slipped and fallen into one of the rivers on the way back, or whether or not he'd even been taken by a group of gypsies that were known to be staying locally in the area. But it ended up being a local woman from just north of Brecon, who ended up having vivid dreams of where Tommy's body was. Now at first her husband just dismissed this, but she did eventually manage to persuade him round, and they came up here on a pony and trap to just under Corndee and made the grim discovery. And to this day, nobody knows how Tommy managed to climb 1,300 feet up into the mountains on his own, but he was found with his favourite tin whistle toy, and you have to wonder whether he used it to try and attract attention. But like I said, up here is a pretty remote place. It's not like nowadays when you've got people hiking up here for fun. This was back in 1900, when the only thing this land was good for was working. Now at the inquest, it was ruled that Tommy had died from hypothermia and exposure, and the jurors, given the nature of the story, decided to waive their fees and donate it to the building of a memorial in Tommy's name. And this is that memorial here. Now, as you can see, conditions up here are pretty horrendous. I don't know what they were like on that fateful night, but either way, this is not the place for a 5-year-old boy on his own. The inscription reads, "This obelisk marks the spot where the body of Tommy Jones, aged 5, was found. He lost his way between Cumlock Farm and the log-in on the night of August 4th, 1900. After an anxious search of 29 days, his remains were discovered September 2nd, erected by voluntary subscriptions. W. Powell Price, Mayor of Brecon, 1901. Tommy's body was recovered from the mountain and taken by train back to his hometown of Mardy. He was buried at Ferndale Cemetery on the 6th of September 1900. His grave can still be visited today, and the obelisk will forever remain a reminder of the boy lost on the mountains.